A clandestine operation, a desperate plea, and a shocking revelation. We uncover the truth behind a controversial U.S. deportation policy that has left men stranded, exposed deep fissures in West African unity, and ignited a fierce debate over human rights and national sovereignty. This is not just a story, it's a legal and humanitarian crisis unfolding before our eyes. A Nigerian man deported from the United States recounts a harrowing ordeal. He claims he was secretly transferred from Ghana into Togo through an unofficial border crossing after U.S. authorities expelled him under a controversial new deportation agreement. This alleged backdoor maneuver has left him and others abandoned, exposing a disturbing pattern. Now stranded in a hotel in Lomé, Togo, without valid travel documents, he feels utterly forsaken. His testimony, corroborated by others, is not merely a personal tragedy, it's a stark indictment of a system that appears to disregard due process and international norms. This incident is rapidly escalating into a major diplomatic and legal challenge, straining relations between Washington and West African nations. The man, whose identity remains protected for his safety, shared a chilling account with the BBC. He stated that Ghanaian officers, under the guise of relocating them to better accommodation, instead orchestrated their illegal transfer. They took us through a back road, paid the police there, and dropped us inside Togo, he recounted, detailing a transaction that bypassed all official protocols. This clandestine operation involves 6 men, including 3 Nigerians and a Liberian, all now trapped in a Lomé hotel. Stripped of their passports and legal identification, they exist in a precarious state of limbo. Their inability to move freely or return home underscores a profound violation of their fundamental rights, raising urgent questions about their legal status and future. Togo's authorities have maintained a conspicuous silence regarding these allegations, a silence that only deepens the mystery surrounding the men's presence. Conversely, the Ghanaian government, which initially accepted the deportees in the spirit of Pan-African empathy, now faces intense scrutiny. Their apparent complicity in this secret handover has sparked outrage and accusations of betraying regional solidarity. These deportees were originally flown to Ghana on a U.S. military plane, part of a broader agreement between Washington and Accra. This deal permits Ghana to accept migrants from various West African nations, including Nigeria, Liberia, the Gambia, and Togo itself. However, this third country deportation policy, where individuals are sent to a nation that is neither their country of origin nor the deporting state, is ringing alarm bells across the international legal community. It challenges established principles of international law and human rights. In Washington, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, asserts that these individuals were illegal aliens subject to final deportation orders. They claim many had been convicted of serious crimes, justifying their removal from U.S. soil. This narrative, however, is fiercely contested by legal advocates and human rights organizations. Lawyers representing the deportees argue that their clients' fundamental rights were systematically violated. They contend that many were flown to Ghana in shackles, denied adequate legal counsel, and lacked proper notice of their destination. These actions, they argue, constitute a grave breach of due process and international human rights conventions, including the right to challenge deportation orders. One Nigerian man's case highlights the severe risks involved. He was convicted of bank fraud in 2020, but possessed a U.S. court protection order that should have shielded him from deportation. This order was based on credible fears of persecution if returned to Nigeria, stemming from his ties to the Yoruba self-determination movement. This group advocates for an independent Yoruba nation, a stance that can lead to severe repercussions in Nigeria. His forced return, despite legal protections, places him in immediate danger of arrest, torture, or even extrajudicial harm. This situation directly contravenes the principle of non-refoulement, a cornerstone of international refugee law, which prohibits returning individuals to a country where they face a serious threat to their life or freedom. The U.S. government's actions in this instance appear to disregard its own legal obligations and international humanitarian law. Ghana's President John Mahama has publicly defended his country's stance, asserting that Ghana will not become a dumping ground for deportees or accept individuals with criminal backgrounds. This statement, however, rings hollow in the face of mounting evidence and public outcry. The contradiction between his words and the alleged actions of Ghanaian officials is stark, undermining Ghana's reputation as a beacon of democracy and human rights in Africa. Opposition members of parliament have vehemently accused the government of rushing this U.S. deal without proper parliamentary oversight or public consultation. Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa's admission that Ghana received no financial compensation for accepting the deportees has further fueled criticism. Many view this as a profound diplomatic misstep, sacrificing national dignity and legal principles for an ill-defined agreement. This incident raises critical questions about the true cost of Pan-African solidarity when national interests and human rights are compromised. Meanwhile, in Lomé, the human toll of this geopolitical maneuvering is painfully evident. The Nigerian man, unable to speak French, finds himself isolated and disoriented in a foreign land. His inability to move freely or return home has plunged him into a state of profound despair. His family in the U.S., including his children, are grappling with immense financial and emotional hardship in his absence. "I don't know how they'll pay the mortgage," he lamented, his voice heavy with worry. "I just want to live in peace." His plea encapsulates the devastating personal consequences of policies that prioritize political expediency over human dignity. This situation highlights the urgent need for legal intervention and humanitarian assistance for those caught in this complex web of international politics and legal ambiguity. This unfolding scandal forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. Why is the U.S. increasingly outsourcing its deportation responsibilities to third countries, often with questionable oversight? What are the long-term implications for international law and the sovereignty of African nations? And how far will African nations compromise their own citizens' rights and regional unity in the name of diplomatic relations or perceived Pan-African solidarity? Legal teams are now preparing to take action against both the U.S. and Ghanaian governments. They argue that what began as a routine deportation flight has tragically devolved into a full-blown human rights crisis, demanding immediate legal and diplomatic intervention. The core arguments will center on violations of due process, the principle of non-refoulement, and the illegal transfer of individuals across international borders. For now, 6 men remain stranded in a hotel room in Togo, caught between continents, political agendas, and the relentless grind of power. Their fate hangs in the balance, a stark reminder of the fragility of justice in a complex global landscape. This case serves as a critical lesson for law students, policymakers, and the general public alike, underscoring the intricate interplay of international law, human rights, and geopolitical power. The rights of these men and the integrity of international law are at stake. We call upon the general public and the African diaspora to raise your voices, demand transparency from your governments, and advocate for the humane treatment of all individuals, regardless of their immigration status. Share this video, engage in the conversation, and support organizations working to protect human rights. This is Politics, Power, and Policy, where Africa's voice meets the world's headlines.